Sarah Chen had always been different from other girls her age. While her classmates played with dolls and dreamed of becoming princesses, she spent her afternoons at the shooting range with her grandfather, a Korean War veteran who taught her that precision and patience were the keys to survival. Her small hands wrapped around rifles that seemed too big for her 12-year-old frame. But her aim was steadier than men twice her age. Growing up in rural Montana, Sarah learned to hunt before she could ride a bicycle properly. Her grandfather, Chen Wei, had immigrated from Taiwan after serving alongside American forces. He saw something special in his granddaughter that others missed. While her parents worried about her unusual interests, Chen Wei encouraged her natural talent with firearms. He taught her not just to shoot, but to think like a sniper. Wind direction, temperature, humidity, distance, calculation, breathing control, these became second nature to her. In high school, Sarah excelled in mathematics and physics, while other students struggled with basic concepts. Her teachers noticed her exceptional analytical mind, but they had no idea how she applied these skills during her weekend hunting trips. She could calculate bullet trajectory in her head faster than most people could use a calculator. Her bedroom walls were covered with shooting competition trophies instead of pop star posters. When Sarah turned 18, she shocked everyone by announcing her intention to join the military. Her parents had hoped she would pursue engineering or medicine, using her brilliant mind in what they considered more appropriate ways. Her mother cried for days, unable to understand why her daughter wanted to put herself in danger. Her father tried reasoning with her, offering to pay for any college she wanted to attend. But Sarah had made up her mind. The military recruiter had never encountered a female candidate quite like Sarah. Her physical fitness scores were impressive, but her shooting scores were simply extraordinary. During her initial evaluation at the range, she consistently hit targets at distances that challenged even experienced marksmen. The range instructor, a gruff sergeant with 20 years of experience, watched in amazement as this quiet young woman outperformed recruits who had been bragging about their hunting experience. Basic training proved to be Sarah's first real challenge, not because of the physical demands, but because of the attitudes she encountered. Many of her fellow recruits and some instructors questioned whether women belonged in combat roles. Sarah faced constant scrutiny and had to prove herself repeatedly. While male recruits were given the benefit of the doubt, every mistake she made was magnified, and every success was attributed to luck rather than skill. Despite the obstacles, Sarah graduated at the top of her basic training class. Her marksmanship scores were record-breaking, and her tactical intelligence impressed even the most skeptical officers. She had demonstrated not only exceptional shooting ability, but also natural leadership qualities. During field exercises, other recruits began looking to her for guidance. Recognizing her strategic thinking and calm demeanor under pressure, the transition to advanced military training brought new challenges and opportunities. Sarah's scores qualified her for specialized programs that few soldiers ever accessed. She applied for sniper school, knowing that the acceptance rate was extremely low and that no woman had ever completed the program successfully. The selection process was grueling. It's designed to eliminate all but the most dedicated and capable candidates. Sarah's application raised eyebrows throughout the military hierarchy. Some officers questioned whether resources should be invested in training a female sniper, arguing that women lacked the physical and mental toughness required for such specialized roles. Others, however, had seen her exceptional performance records and believed she deserved the opportunity to prove herself. The debate reached high levels of military command before approval was finally granted. Sniper school pushed Sarah to her limits in ways basic training never had. The physical demands were intense, but the mental pressure was even greater. Students had to demonstrate not only perfect shooting accuracy, but also the ability to remain motionless for hours, to calculate complex ballistics under stress, and to make life or death decisions instantly. Many highly qualified soldiers failed to meet these standards. Sarah's fellow students initially viewed her with skepticism and curiosity. Some made inappropriate comments about women in combat, while others simply ignored her, assuming she would quickly wash out of the program. She responded by focusing entirely on her performance, allowing her results to speak for themselves. Day by day, her consistency and determination began earning respect from classmates who had initially doubted her capabilities. The instructors at sniper school were among the most experienced and demanding in the entire military. They had trained thousands of soldiers and had developed an instinct for identifying those with the rare combination of skills necessary to become elite snipers. They watched Sarah carefully, looking for any signs of weakness or inability to handle the extreme pressures of the program. As weeks passed, Sarah not only met every requirement, but frequently exceeded expectations. Her shooting accuracy was flawless, her fieldcraft skills developed rapidly, and her tactical awareness impressed veteran instructors. She demonstrated the patience to remain in position for entire days without movement, the mental discipline to block out distractions and discomfort, and the analytical ability to solve complex ballistic problems under time pressure. The final examinations at sniper school were designed to simulate real combat conditions as closely as possible. Students had to successfully engage targets at various distances while dealing with changing weather conditions, time pressure, and physical exhaustion. Sarah approached these tests with the same methodical preparation that had characterized her entire military career. She studied weather patterns, memorized range cards, and practiced breathing techniques until they became automatic responses. On graduation day, Sarah stood among the small group of soldiers who had successfully completed one of the military's most challenging programs. She had not only passed but had achieved some of the highest scores in the program's history. Her instructors, who had initially harbored doubts about training a female sniper, now recognized her as one of the most naturally gifted marksmen they had ever encountered. However, despite her exceptional performance, Sarah soon discovered that graduation was only the beginning of her challenges in a military system that remained skeptical about women in combat roles. Sarah's first assignment after sniper school was to a forward operating base in Afghanistan. The mountainous terrain reminded her of home in Montana, but the hostile environment and constant threat of attack created an atmosphere unlike anything she had experienced. Her new unit, Bravo Company, had been operating in the region for 6 months and had developed tight bonds forged through shared danger and mutual dependence. When Sarah arrived at the base, she immediately sensed the skepticism from her new teammates. Most had never worked with a female sniper, and some questioned whether she could perform effectively in actual combat situations. The unit's previous sniper had been killed in action 2 months earlier, and his replacement was expected to fill very large shoes. Sarah understood that she would need to prove herself all over again. Despite her exceptional training scores, the base commander, Colonel Martinez, was a fair but demanding officer who had served multiple combat tours. He reviewed Sarah's training records with interest, but made it clear that performance in training and performance in combat were entirely different things. He assigned her to work with Sergeant First Class Mike Thompson, an experienced spotter who had worked with the unit's previous sniper. Thompson was professional but clearly uncertain about working with a woman in such dangerous conditions. Sarah's first weeks at the base involved acclimatization to the harsh environment and integration with her new unit's operational procedures. The altitude and thin air required adjustment, even for someone who had grown up in Montana's mountains. She spent hours studying local terrain maps, learning the locations of friendly forces, and identifying potential threat areas. Her analytical mind absorbed details that would prove crucial in future operations. The relationship between Sarah and Sergeant Thompson developed slowly. As her spotter, he was responsible for helping her identify targets, calculate range and wind conditions, and maintain situational awareness during long observation periods. Initially, their communication was stiff and formal, but Thompson gradually began to appreciate Sarah's professional approach and dedication to perfection. She never complained about uncomfortable conditions and consistently demonstrated the patience and focus that elite snipers required. Sarah's first combat engagement occurred during a routine patrol that encountered an enemy ambush. The patrol had moved into a valley when insurgents opened fire from concealed positions in the surrounding hills. Sarah and Thompson were positioned on a ridge overlooking the valley, providing overwatch for the patrol below. When the attack began, Sarah immediately began scanning for enemy positions while Thompson called in the situation to base command through her scope. Sarah identified muzzle flashes from an enemy position approximately 800 meters away. The insurgents had chosen their position well, with good cover and multiple escape routes. Sarah calculated wind speed and direction while Thompson confirmed the range using his spotting scope. The enemy fighters were suppressing the patrol with automatic weapons fire, making it impossible for the soldiers to move to safer positions. Sarah's first shot in combat struck an insurgent who was operating a machine gun from behind a rock formation. The target dropped immediately, and the heavy weapons fire ceased momentarily. Her second shot eliminated another fighter who was attempting to flank the patrol from the left side of the valley. The precision and speed of her shooting disrupted the entire enemy attack, allowing the patrol to withdraw to safer positions while calling for additional support. The success of Sarah's first combat engagement earned her immediate respect from the patrol members she had protected. Word spread quickly through the base about the new sniper's performance under fire. Soldiers who had been skeptical about having a woman in such a critical role began to view her differently. However, Sarah remained focused on continuous improvement, analyzing every aspect of the engagement to identify areas where she could have performed better. Over the following months, Sarah participated in numerous operations throughout the region. Her reputation for accuracy and reliability grew with each successful mission. She demonstrated not only exceptional marksmanship, but also the tactical intelligence to identify high-value targets and the patience to wait for optimal shooting opportunities. Her ability to remain calm under pressure impressed even veteran soldiers who had initially doubted her capabilities. One particularly challenging mission involved providing overwatch for a convoy traveling through a mountain pass known for enemy activity. Sarah and Thompson positioned themselves on a ridge that provided excellent visibility of the entire route. They remained in position for 14 hours, monitoring the convoy's progress and scanning for potential threats. The physical demands of maintaining focus and remaining motionless for such extended periods tested both soldiers' endurance. Late in the day, Sarah identified armed fighters moving into position to attack the convoy as it rounded a sharp curve in the mountain road. The enemy had chosen their ambush point carefully, using the terrain to mask their approach until the last possible moment. Sarah had less than 3 minutes to engage multiple targets before the convoy would enter the kill zone. The shots she needed to make were at maximum range in challenging wind conditions. Sarah's first shot eliminated the leader of the enemy group at a distance of over 1,000 meters. Her second and third shots quickly followed, neutralizing the fighters manning a rocket-propelled grenade launcher that posed the greatest threat to the armored vehicles below. The remaining insurgents retreated without engaging the convoy, recognizing that their ambush had been compromised by an unseen sniper with extraordinary capabilities. The convoy commander later credited Sarah's intervention with preventing significant casualties and the potential loss of critical supplies being transported to forward positions. Her performance that day demonstrated not only her technical skills, but also her ability to make rapid tactical decisions under extreme pressure. The success reinforced her reputation as one of the most effective snipers in the theater of operations. As Sarah's deployment continued, she began to notice patterns in enemy activity that others had missed. Her analytical background allowed her to correlate seemingly unrelated incidents and identify larger operational patterns. She started briefing commanders on enemy tactics and suggesting modifications to friendly force procedures based on her observations from numerous overwatch positions throughout the region. Sarah's contributions extended beyond her primary role as a sniper. Her intelligence gathering and tactical analysis provided valuable insights that proved the effectiveness of the entire unit's operations. Commanders began specifically requesting her participation in planning sessions, recognizing that her unique perspective from extended observation periods often revealed details that others overlooked. Her reputation was growing beyond her exceptional marksmanship to encompass broader military capabilities. After 18 months in Afghanistan, Sarah returned to the United States with an impressive record of successful operations and numerous commendations for her exceptional performance. Her reputation had spread throughout the military community, and she received offers for advanced training programs that were typically reserved for the most elite soldiers. However, she also encountered institutional resistance from officers who remained uncomfortable with women in combat roles. Sarah's the opportunity was unprecedented. No woman had ever been accepted into the program, let alone completed the grueling training regimen. Her combat record and exceptional skills had earned her the chance. But she knew that she would face scrutiny and challenges that her male counterparts would never encounter. The SEAL selection process was designed to eliminate all but the most physically and mentally tough candidates. The dropout rate was extremely high, even among highly qualified special operations soldiers. Sarah understood that as the first woman to attempt the program. On all sides of the debate about women in special operations roles, physical training at SEAL school pushed Sarah's body to its absolute limits. The instructors were relentless in their demands, requiring candidates to perform at peak levels while dealing with sleep deprivation, extreme physical stress, and constant psychological pressure. Sarah's smaller stature meant she had to work harder than larger candidates in some areas. But her exceptional cardiovascular fitness and mental toughness helped her keep pace with the demanding scheduled. The famous Hell Week portion of SEAL training tested candidates in ways that few other military programs attempted. For 5.5 days, candidates received minimal sleep while participating in continuous physical training, cold water exposure, and mental challenges designed to break down those lacking absolute commitment. Sarah approached Hell Week with the same methodical preparation that had characterized her entire military career. During Hell Week, Sarah faced unique challenges that her male classmates did not encounter. Some instructors seemed determined to prove that women could not meet SEAL standards, subjecting her to additional scrutiny and criticism. However, other instructors recognized her exceptional performance and treated her with the same professional respect. They showed all candidates who met their demanding standards. Sarah's sniper background proved valuable in unexpected ways during SEAL training. The patience and mental discipline she had developed as a marksman helped her endure the psychological pressure of continuous stress and evaluation. Ability to remain focused despite physical discomfort and fatigue impressed instructors who had seen many tough soldiers break under similar conditions. The academic portions of SEAL training covered subjects ranging from combat medicine to demolitions, navigation to small unit tactics. Sarah's analytical mind absorbed the complex technical information quickly, and she consistently scored among the highest in her class on written examinations. Her performance demonstrated that she possessed not only the physical capabilities necessary for special operations, but also the intellectual capacity to master the diverse skills that SEALs required. Sarah's swimming and diving abilities required significant development during training. Growing up in landlocked Montana had not provided many opportunities to develop water skills. Unlike many of her classmates who had grown up near oceans or had collegiate swimming backgrounds, she spent extra hours in the pool working with instructors to develop the technique and endurance necessary to meet SEAL swimming standards. The weapons training portions of SEAL school allowed Sarah to demonstrate her exceptional marksmanship abilities with a wider variety of firearms than she had previously encountered. She mastered pistols, submachine guns, assault rifles, and specialized weapons systems with the same precision that had made her such an effective sniper. Her shooting scores consistently ranked among the best in her class across all weapon platforms. As training progressed, Sarah's relationship with her classmates evolved from initial skepticism to grudging respect to genuine acceptance as a valued team member. Her consistent performance and professional attitude gradually overcame the doubts of those who had questioned whether women belonged in special operations. She never asked for special treatment and consistently met the same standards required of all candidates. The final phases of SEAL training involved complex team exercises that simulated real-world special operations missions. Sarah's tactical intelligence and combat experience made her a valuable contributor to these scenarios. Her ability to analyze situations quickly and provide accurate sniper support enhanced her team's performance in various training scenarios. Sarah successfully completed SEAL training, becoming the first woman to earn the coveted Trident insignia. The achievement was historic, but she was more focused on the operational capabilities she had gained than on the symbolic significance of her accomplishment. She understood that earning the Trident was just the beginning of her special operations career, not the culmination. Her first assignment as a qualified SEAL was to a team preparing for deployment to the Middle East. The team had been operating together for over a year, and integrating a new member, especially one whose presence represented such a significant change in special operations tradition, required careful management by the team leader and command structure. The team's commanding officer, Lieutenant Commander James Walsh, was an experienced special operations leader who had served multiple deployments in various theaters of operation. He had followed Sarah's progress through training and was impressed by her performance, but he also understood the challenges of integrating her into an established team dynamic. Sarah's teammates included some of the most experienced and capable special operations soldiers in the military. Each had specialized skills that contributed to the team's overall effectiveness. From advanced demolitions expertise to foreign language capabilities to medical training, Sarah's role would primarily focus on precision shooting and reconnaissance. But she would also need to demonstrate competence in all aspects of special operations. The team's preparation for deployment involved intensive training in the specific tactics and procedures they would employ in their area of operations. Sarah participated in hundreds of hours of rehearsals, equipment, familiarization, and scenario-based exercises. Her performance during these preparations would determine how effectively she could integrate with the team once they deployed to actual combat operations. However, despite her exceptional training record and proven combat effectiveness, Sarah soon discovered that some military leaders remained reluctant to fully utilize her capabilities. Political considerations and institutional bias began to limit her opportunities for operational assignments, setting the stage for the conflicts that would define the next phase of her career. Sarah's SEAL team deployment to Syria began with high expectations, but she quickly discovered that her operational role would be significantly limited despite her exceptional qualifications. Command decisions made far above her pay grade restricted her participation in many missions, ostensibly for political reasons, but effectively sidelining one of the military's most capable snipers during a critical phase of operations against international terrorist networks. Lieutenant Commander Walsh privately expressed his frustration to Sarah about the limitations being placed on her deployment. He had reviewed her complete military record and understood that her skills could significantly enhance the team's effectiveness, particularly in the complex urban and mountain environments where they would be operating. However, pressure from higher command levels severely restricted his ability to utilize her full capabilities. The team's first months in Syria involved intelligence gathering and reconnaissance missions in areas where terrorist organizations had established training camps and supply networks. Sarah participated in these operations, but primarily in support roles rather than as the primary sniper she had been trained to be. Her teammates recognized the artificial nature of these restrictions, and several privately voiced their disagreement with command decisions. During one reconnaissance mission near the Turkish border, Sarah's team discovered a major terrorist training facility that intelligence reports had failed to identify. The compound included weapons, storage areas, vehicle maintenance facilities, and dormitories that could house over 200 fighters. Sarah's detailed observations and photographic documentation provided crucial intelligence that led to a major airstrike operation. Despite the success of her intelligence work, Sarah remained frustrated by her limited operational role. She watched as less experienced snipers received priority assignments, while her exceptional skills remained underutilized. The situation created tension within the team, as her teammates recognized that artificial restrictions were preventing optimal mission effectiveness. Sarah's analytical abilities led her to identify patterns in terrorist movements that had been missed by traditional intelligence analysis. By correlating her field observations with intercepted communications and satellite imagery, she developed a comprehensive picture of enemy logistics networks that proved invaluable for disrupting terrorist operations throughout the region. The breakthrough And Sarah's deployment came when her team received orders for a high-priority rescue mission. American intelligence officers had been captured by a terrorist group and were being held in a fortified compound in mountainous terrain. The complexity of the mission and the critical nature of the situation led commanders to finally authorize Sarah's full participation as the team's primary sniper. The rescue mission required extensive planning and coordination with multiple military units. Sarah's role would be to provide precision overwatch from a ridgeline, approximately 1,200 meters from the target compound. The distance and challenging mountain conditions would test every aspect of her training and experience. Weather reports indicated variable winds and the possibility of sudden temperature changes that could affect bullet trajectory. Sarah spent hours studying satellite photographs and drone reconnaissance footage of the target area. She identified multiple shooting positions that would provide clear lines of sight to key areas of the compound, while offering concealment and escape routes if the team's position was compromised. Her tactical analysis impressed the mission planners, who had initially been skeptical about relying on an untested sniper for such a critical operation. The insertion into the target area required a dangerous helicopter flight through mountain valleys, patrolled by enemy fighters. Sarah's team traveled light, carrying only essential equipment for the mission. Her sniper rifle and associated gear represented the most critical components of the entire operation, as the rescue would depend on her ability to neutralize guards and provide cover for the assault team. Sarah and her spotter established their position before dawn, using natural camouflage and specially designed concealment equipment to remain invisible from the compound below. The waiting period before the assault began tested her patience and mental discipline, as any movement or sound could compromise the entire mission. She remained motionless for over 6 hours while monitoring activity in the compound through her rifle scope when the rescue operation commenced. Sarah's precision shooting proved decisive. Her first shot eliminated a guard in a watchtower who could have alerted the entire compound to the assault team's approach. Her subsequent shots systematically neutralized threats as they appeared, allowing the rescue team to penetrate the compound's defenses without encountering organized resistance. The most challenging shot of the mission came when one of the captured intelligence officers broke free from his captors and began running across an open courtyard while enemy fighters pursued him. Sarah had seconds to distinguish between the American prisoner and his captors in chaotic conditions, while accounting for the officer's movement and the possibility of hitting him. Accidentally, Sarah's shot struck the lead pursuer at a distance of over 1,300 meters, dropping him instantly and causing the other fighters to seek cover rather than continue their pursuit. Her follow-up shots kept the remaining guards pinned down while the assault team reached the prisoners and began their extraction. The precision and timing of her shooting were flawless under the most demanding conditions imaginable. The rescue mission succeeded with all prisoners recovered and no American casualties. Sarah's shooting had been the critical factor that enabled the operation's success, demonstrating beyond question her value as an operational asset. The mission commander's after-action report specifically credited her exceptional performance and recommended that restrictions on her operational role be reconsidered. However, instead of leading to expanded opportunities, the success of the rescue mission created new problems for Sarah. Some military leaders became concerned that her high-profile success would increase pressure to expand women's roles in special operations before the institution was ready for such changes. Political considerations began to outweigh operational effectiveness and decisions about her future assignments. Sarah found herself increasingly isolated within the military hierarchy, as debates about women in combat intensified at the highest levels of government and military leadership. Officers who had praised her performance privately were reluctant to advocate for her publicly, fearing negative impacts on their own careers. The situation created a paradox where her exceptional abilities made her both more valuable and more controversial. Simultaneously, the final months of Sarah's deployment involved routine assignments that failed to utilize her specialized skills effectively. She completed her tour with numerous commendations and recommendations, but also with growing frustration about artificial limitations that prevented her from contributing fully to military operations. Her experience highlighted the complex challenges facing women seeking to serve in combat roles within traditional military structures. Upon returning to the United States, Sarah faced critical decisions about her military career. She had proven her capabilities beyond question, but institutional resistance suggested that her future opportunities might remain limited despite her exceptional record. The stage was set for conflicts that would ultimately lead to her departure from active military service. Sarah's return to the United States marked the beginning of the most frustrating period of her military career. Despite her exceptional combat record and proven abilities, she found herself assigned to training duties and administrative positions that failed to utilize her specialized skills. The military hierarchy seemed determined to minimize her operational role while publicly praising her achievements, creating a situation that felt both hypocritical and professionally stifling. Her new assignment was to the Naval Special Warfare Development Group, where she was tasked with developing training protocols for advanced marksmanship programs. While the work was technically challenging and important, Sarah recognized that she was being placed in a position where her controversial presence would have minimal impact on active operations. The assignment felt like bureaucratic exile disguised as career advancement. Sarah threw herself into the training development work with characteristic dedication, creating innovative programs that incorporated lessons learned from her combat experience. Her protocols emphasized the psychological aspects of precision shooting under stress. Drawing from her extensive experience in high-pressure situations, the training materials she developed quickly gained recognition throughout the special operations community for their practical effectiveness. However, Sarah's professional frustration continued to grow as she watched less experienced snipers receive operational assignments while she remained relegated to administrative duties. She began to understand that her gender had created a ceiling that her exceptional abilities could not break through. Regardless of her proven performance in combat situations, the situation reached a crisis point when Sarah was passed over for promotion to lieutenant commander despite recommendations from multiple superior officers and an unblemished service record. The promotion board's decision was officially based on needs of the service, but Sarah and her supporters understood that institutional bias had played a significant role in the outcome. Sarah's mentor, Admiral Patricia Hayes, who had become the first woman to achieve flag rank in naval special warfare, arranged a private meeting to discuss the situation. Admiral Hayes was blunt about the challenges Sarah faced, explaining that her exceptional performance had made her a symbol in debates about women in combat that extended far beyond military circles into political and social arenas. The conversation with Admiral Hayes forced Sarah to confront difficult realities about her career prospects within the existing military structure. Despite her proven abilities and exceptional record, the institutional resistance she faced would likely continue throughout her service, potentially limiting her effectiveness and professional satisfaction. Indefinitely, Sarah began considering options outside traditional military service, including private security firms and government agencies that might better utilize her specialized skills. Several organizations had already approached her with attractive offers. Recognizing the value of her unique combination of combat experience, technical expertise, and security clearances, the decision to leave active military service was not made lightly. Sarah had dedicated over a decade to military service and had achieved historic firsts that opened doors for women who would follow. However, she also recognized that her continued effectiveness required an environment that would fully utilize her capabilities rather than limit them for political reasons. Sarah's resignation from active duty created significant controversy within military circles. Some viewed her departure as a loss of exceptional talent that the military could not afford, while others saw it as evidence that the integration of women into special operations roles remained problematic. The debates surrounding her decision reflected broader societal discussions about gender roles in military service. Her transition to civilian life was facilitated by her acceptance of a position with a specialized consulting firm that provided security services to government agencies and international organizations. The firm's clients included diplomatic missions, intelligence agencies, and multinational corporations operating in high-risk environments where conventional security measures were insufficient. Sarah's new role involved analyzing security threats, developing protection protocols, and training security personnel for dangerous assignments worldwide. Her unique background combining special operations experience with advanced marksmanship skills made her exceptionally valuable in situations requiring both strategic thinking and tactical expertise. The consulting firm's first major assignment for Sarah involved providing security assessment for American diplomatic facilities in Eastern Europe, where increasing tensions with Russia had created complex threat environments. Her analysis identified vulnerabilities in existing security arrangements and recommended modifications that significantly enhanced the protection of American personnel. Sarah's reputation in the private security sector grew rapidly as her assessments consistently identified threats and vulnerabilities that others had missed. Her military experience provided insights into adversary tactics and capabilities that proved invaluable for clients operating in contested environments around the world. One particularly challenging assignment involved providing security consultation for a technology company conducting business negotiations in a region where industrial espionage and physical threats were common concerns. Sarah's comprehensive security plan included personnel protection, communications security, and contingency procedures that ensured successful completion of sensitive business dealings. However, Sarah's most significant opportunity came when she was approached by a joint task force addressing emerging international security threats. The task force included representatives from multiple government agencies who had been following her career and recognized her exceptional qualifications for specialized assignments that required both operational expertise and strategic understanding. The task force was investigating reports of advanced weapon systems being developed by hostile nations, particularly focusing on long-range precision weapons that could threaten American interests worldwide. Sarah's unique background in both advanced marksmanship and intelligence analysis made her ideally suited for missions that combined technical assessment with reconnaissance requirements. Sarah's first assignment with the task force involved traveling to Central Asia to investigate reports of weapon testing facilities in remote mountainous regions. The mission required infiltrating areas under hostile surveillance while gathering technical intelligence about advanced weapon systems that could potentially threaten international security. The assignment marked Sarah's return to operational activities. After months of administrative and consulting work, she welcomed the opportunity to utilize her specialized skills in service of national security objectives. Even though her new role operated in the shadows rather than receiving public recognition, however, Sarah had no way of knowing that this assignment would lead to the most critical mission of her career, one that would test every skill she had developed over years of training and combat experience. The stakes would be higher than anything she had previously encountered, and her unique abilities would prove to be the deciding factor in preventing an international catastrophe. The intelligence briefing that would change everything arrived on a Tuesday morning in November. Sarah sat in a secure conference room in Langley, Virginia, surrounded by representatives from the CIA, NCAA, Pentagon, and State Department. The assembled officials represented the highest levels of American national security apparatus, and their presence indicated the extraordinary nature of the situation they were about to discuss. The briefing began with satellite imagery showing a remote facility in the mountains of North Korea, approximately 200 kilometers from the Chinese border. The facility had been under observation for 6 months, but recent intelligence indicated that it housed a weapons program far more dangerous than initially suspected. The North Koreans had apparently developed a new class of nuclear device designed for use in long-range precision weapons. The weapons program represented a fundamental shift in the global balance of power. Unlike traditional nuclear weapons that required massive delivery systems, these devices were small enough to be deployed using conventional artillery or even individual weapons platforms. The implications for international security were staggering, as the technology could potentially be proliferated to terrorist organizations or other hostile actors. American intelligence agencies had been monitoring the program through various means, including intercepted communications, satellite surveillance, and human intelligence sources. However, the most critical information had come from a North Korean scientist who had managed to defect while traveling in China. His debriefings revealed the true scope of the weapons program and the imminent threat it posed to regional and global security. According to the defector's information, the North Koreans were planning to conduct a demonstration test of their new weapon system within days. The test would involve launching a nuclear-armed projectile at a target in the Sea of Japan, proving their capability to strike American allies and potentially American territory with minimal warning. The demonstration was intended to force major concessions from the United States and its allies. Traditional military responses to the threat were complicated by the facilities, location, and the potential for escalation. A conventional airstrike risked triggering a broader conflict that could involve China and other regional powers. Diplomatic efforts had failed to even acknowledge the program's existence, as North Korea had maintained complete denial despite overwhelming evidence. The task force had developed a plan that required extraordinary precision and timing. A single operative would infiltrate the facility and neutralize the key personnel responsible for the weapons program, specifically targeting the lead scientist whose expertise was essential for completing the project. The mission required capabilities that few individuals in the world possessed. Sarah's role in the operation became clear as the briefing continued. The facility was located in mountainous terrain that provided natural defensive advantages, but also created opportunities for long-range precision engagement. The target would need to be eliminated from a distance that exceeded the range of conventional sniper weapons, requiring both exceptional marksmanship skills and specialized equipment. The shot distance would be approximately 7,000 meters, far beyond the range of standard military rifles. The mission would require a specialized weapon system that had been developed in secret but never deployed operationally. The weapon combined advanced ballistics technology with precision-guided projectiles, creating capabilities that pushed the boundaries of what was technically possible. Weather conditions at the target location added another layer of complexity to an already extremely challenging shot. Mountain winds were unpredictable and could vary significantly across the distance the projectile would travel. Temperature variations between the shooting position and target area would affect trajectory calculations, requiring real-time adjustments based on environmental monitoring equipment. Sarah spent 2 weeks preparing for the mission at a classified facility in Colorado, where she trained with the specialized weapon system and practiced shooting at extended ranges in mountain conditions. The weapon was unlike anything she had previously encountered, incorporating electronic systems that assisted with ballistics calculations while maintaining the fundamental requirement for shooter skill and judgment. The psychological pressure of the mission was unlike anything Sarah had experienced during her military career. The success or failure of the shot would determine whether a nuclear weapons program continued to threaten international security or was effectively neutralized. The weight of such responsibility required mental preparation techniques that went beyond traditional military training. Sarah's infiltration into North Korea required months of preparation and coordination with intelligence assets who had been positioned years earlier. She entered the country through China, using cover documentation that identified her as a wildlife photographer documenting endangered species in remote mountain regions. The cover story explained her presence in areas where few outsiders were permitted. The journey to her shooting position took 3 days of hiking through difficult terrain while avoiding North Korean patrols and security checkpoints. Sarah carried specialized camping equipment that concealed the components of her weapon system, along with environmental monitoring devices disguised as photographic equipment. Every item had been carefully selected to maintain her cover story while providing Mission essential capabilities. Sarah established her final shooting position on a ridge line that provided clear line of sight to the target facility while remaining outside the range of their security patrols. The position offered excellent concealment among rock formations and sparse vegetation. But the altitude of over 3,000 meters created additional challenges for both her physical endurance and weapon performance. The assembly of her specialized weapon system required precise procedures that she had practiced hundreds of times during training. Each component had been designed to appear innocuous when separated, but together they formed the most advanced long-range precision weapon ever deployed. The electronic systems required careful calibration to account for local atmospheric conditions and the extreme distance to target. Sarah spent the first night in position conducting detailed reconnaissance of the target facility through high-powered optics. She identified the daily routines of security personnel, the locations of key buildings, and the movement patterns of individuals who matched the description of her primary target. The intelligence provided by the defector proved accurate, allowing her to confirm the target's identity and predict his schedule. The weather during her second day in position created challenging conditions that tested every aspect of her preparation. Wind speeds varied from calm to over 30 kilometers per hour, with directions that shifted unpredictably as air masses moved through the mountain valleys. Sarah monitored these conditions continuously, knowing that accurate wind assessment would be critical for mission success. Her target appeared on the morning of the third day. Following the routine that intelligence sources had predicted, Dr. Kim Jong-soo, the lead nuclear physicist responsible for the weapons program, emerged from the main laboratory building at precisely 9:15 a.m., just as he had done every day for the past 6 months, according to surveillance reports. He paused on the building's steps, unaware that he was being observed from 7,000 meters away. Sarah's calculations indicated that the projectile would require approximately 8 seconds to reach the target, during which time atmospheric conditions could change and the target could move. She had studied his movement patterns extensively and knew that he typically remained stationary for approximately 30 seconds while reviewing documents that his assistant provided each morning. The moment of the shot represented the culmination of Sarah's entire career and training. Every lesson learned from her grandfather in Montana, every hour of practice at military ranges, every combat engagement she had survived, had prepared her for this single critical moment. The specialized weapons electronic systems provided ballistics data, but the final decision and execution remained entirely dependent on her skill and judgment. Sarah's breathing slowed to the controlled rhythm that had become automatic after years of precision shooting. Her heart rate dropped to the steady pace that allowed maximum accuracy while maintaining full alertness. The world narrowed to the image in her scope, the environmental data displays, and the precise moment when all conditions aligned for the perfect shot. The projectile left the barrel at a velocity that exceeded anything achieved by conventional weapons. Sarah watched through her scope as Dr. Kim continued his morning routine, completely unaware that his life was measured in seconds. The advanced guidance systems in the projectile made minute corrections during flight, compensating for wind variations and atmospheric density changes that would have made the shot impossible with conventional ammunition. At exactly 9:17 a.m. North Korean time, the projectile struck its target with precision that exceeded even Sarah's expectations. Dr. Kim was eliminated instantly, and the chaos that followed in the facility confirmed that the mission's primary objective had been achieved. Without his expertise, the nuclear weapons program would be severely disrupted, potentially setting back development by years or permanently ending the project. Sarah remained in position for another 6 hours, monitoring the facility's response and confirming that her shot had achieved the desired strategic impact. Security forces swarmed the area, but they had no indication of the direction from which the attack had come. The extreme range and specialized nature of the weapon made it impossible for them to locate her position or even understand what type of weapon had been used. The exfiltration from North Korea required the same careful planning and execution that had characterized the insertion. Sarah disassembled her weapon system and resumed her cover as a wildlife photographer, spending 2 additional days in the mountains to establish distance from the target area before beginning her journey back to China. Her success would remain classified, known only to the small group of officials who had authorized the mission. The immediate aftermath of Sarah's mission created ripple effects throughout the intelligence community that few people would ever fully understand. Within hours of Dr. Kim's elimination, North Korean officials began a massive investigation to determine what had happened to their key nuclear scientist. The absence of any evidence pointing to external intervention initially led them to suspect internal sabotage or defection. Sarah's successful exfiltration from North Korea took 5 days, during which she maintained her cover as a wildlife photographer while monitoring international news reports about the situation. The North Korean government's public statements remained vague, referring only to a tragic accident that had claimed the life of a respected scientist. However, intelligence intercepts revealed the chaos and confusion within their nuclear program. The strategic impact of the mission exceeded even the most optimistic projections. Without Dr. Kim's expertise, the North Korean nuclear weapons program faced technical challenges that could not be easily resolved. The specialized knowledge required for their advanced weapon systems had been concentrated in a small group of scientists, making the loss of their leader catastrophic for the entire project. International tensions that had been escalating for months began to de-escalate as North Korea's aggressive posturing suddenly became more restrained. Intelligence analysts attributed this change to the disruption of their nuclear program, though the true cause remained known only to a select few American officials. The threat of nuclear demonstration tests that had dominated diplomatic discussions quietly disappeared from international negotiations. Sarah's return to the United States was deliberately low-key. With no public recognition of her achievement, for obvious security reasons, she was debriefed extensively by intelligence officials who were amazed by the precision and effectiveness of the operation. The 7,000-meter shot had established a new record for precision engagement. Though this record would never appear in any public documentation, the weapon system Sarah had used was immediately classified at the highest levels, with all technical specifications restricted to a small group of cleared personnel. The successful demonstration of its capabilities led to increased funding for similar programs. Though the extreme specialized training requirements meant that only a handful of operators would ever be qualified to use such systems, Sarah's role in preventing what intelligence analysts later determined would have been a catastrophic escalation in international tensions earned her recognition at the highest levels of government. The president personally thanked her during a classified ceremony attended only by key national security officials. However, the public nature of her achievement would remain forever hidden. The North Korean nuclear facility where Dr. Kim had worked was quietly abandoned within weeks of the mission. Satellite imagery showed equipment being removed and personnel reassigned to other locations. Intelligence sources indicated that the program's remaining scientists lacked both the technical expertise and institutional knowledge necessary to continue the advanced weapons development that Dr. Kim had led. Sarah found herself in an unusual position following the mission's success. Her capabilities were now recognized at the highest levels of government, but the classified nature of her achievement meant that she could not receive public recognition for what was arguably one of the most significant intelligence operations in modern history. The paradox of invisible success became a defining characteristic of her post-military career. The consulting firm where Sarah worked began receiving requests for her services from government agencies worldwide. Her unique combination of technical expertise, operational experience, and proven effectiveness in extreme situations made her invaluable for addressing security challenges that conventional approaches could not solve. However, she maintained strict criteria for accepting assignments, focusing only on situations that served legitimate national security interests. Sarah's success also created new opportunities for other women seeking careers in special operations and intelligence services. While her specific achievements remained classified, Her general reputation as an exceptionally capable operator helped break down institutional barriers that had previously limited women's access to specialized roles. Military leaders who had worked with her became advocates for expanding opportunities for qualified women in combat positions. The specialized training programs that Sarah had helped develop during her administrative assignment became standard throughout the special operations community. Her emphasis on psychological preparation and stress management proved invaluable for preparing operators to perform under extreme pressure. The techniques she developed were adapted for use in various high-stakes situations beyond sniper operations. Years later, Sarah established her own security consulting firm specializing in threat assessment and crisis response for organizations operating in higher-risk environments. Her client list included multinational corporations, diplomatic missions, and humanitarian organizations working in dangerous regions worldwide. The firm's success reflected both her technical expertise and her reputation for achieving results in seemingly impossible situations. Sarah never spoke publicly about the North Korean mission, maintaining the operational security requirements that protected both the technical capabilities she had employed and the intelligence sources that had made the operation possible. However, she found satisfaction in knowing that her actions had prevented a potential nuclear crisis that could have destabilized international security for generations. The woman who had been cast aside by military bureaucracy despite her exceptional abilities had ultimately proved that talent and determination could overcome institutional barriers when the stakes were high enough. Her 7,000-meter shot had done more than eliminate a single target. It had prevented atomic war and demonstrated that America's most capable operators could come from unexpected backgrounds. Sarah's story became a legend within the intelligence and special operations communities, told in whispers and passed down through informal networks of operators who understood the significance of what she had achieved. While the public would never know her name or her contribution to international security, those who mattered most in the world of clandestine operations recognized her as one of the most effective operatives of her generation. The specialized weapon system that had made her record-breaking shot possible remained highly classified, but the techniques and training methods she had developed became part of the standard curriculum for advanced marksmanship programs. Her legacy lived on in the improved capabilities of operators who learned from her innovations, even though they might never know the identity of the woman who had pioneered those techniques. In the end, Sarah's greatest victory was not just the successful completion of an impossible mission, but the proof that exceptional ability could overcome any institutional barrier when the need was great enough. Her story demonstrated that America's security often depended on individuals who worked in the shadows, achieving extraordinary results without recognition or acclaim, motivated only by their commitment to protecting others from threats they would never know existed.